In part one, we tackled two of the scariest pivots, going back to school and starting a business. If you haven't watched that yet, I'd recommend starting there because the framework I teach builds across both episodes. Now, in part two, we're addressing what most people actually do when they pivot. That's changing sectors or changing functions. And here's what's interesting. Most people think changing industries is the hard part. It's not. Changing functions is typically harder, but both are absolutely doable when you understand how to lead with your competencies rather than your experience. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to position yourself for these transitions, including a real story of someone who successfully pivoted from healthcare to tech. These aren't just theoretical frameworks. This is the actual playbook that works. Let's dive in.
Have you ever heard the quote by Lewis Carroll that says, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there"? I believe that. As I say in my book, Career Mapping, Charting Your Course in the New World of Work, there are no shortcuts. You must assess your starting point and be willing to read the signs and decode aspects of your past, as well as establish targets for your future in order to create your own unique career map.
Hi, I'm Jenny Clark, a conscious leadership expert who spent 2 decades in executive recruiting and talent management. Having worked with giants like Google, Spencer Stuart, I discovered that the secret to transformative leadership lies in the 5 dimensions of conscious leadership. And I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Join me on this channel as we embark on an honest and vulnerable journey together to become the kind of leader that genuinely inspires organizational transformation.
I've got a little career boosting secret for you. Do you want the inside scoop on leadership plus some juicy tips and hot takes you won't hear anywhere else? I've got a newsletter that's basically your personal career coach in your inbox. Just click the link below in the description to join in. Oh, and if you're loving this content, I know you are, click that subscribe button. It's like giving me a virtual fist bump, ensuring you won't miss out on any future videos. To address different levels or stages of one's career, I created 5 different categories of job seekers and career changers. Entry level, mid-level, executive level, encore level, and detour route. Most are pretty self-explanatory, but check out the book for specific descriptors of each level. Here's the one for detour. This person is challenged by having been out of the job market for a year or more due to a layoff, downsizing, or personal need like child rearing or an illness. They could be returning from a sabbatical, from running a family business, or from military service, which took them off course. This person might be starting a business after having led a more traditional job, or maybe looking for a traditional job after having been self-employed for some time. From detour, I'm updating the reference to pivot. And in this second of 2 videos on pivoting, I'm going to focus on 2 common scenarios: changing sectors or functions. I mentioned in part 1 that I have changed functions 4 times and sectors 4 times. So much of the trick here is mindset. It's about transcending the limiting belief that I have to keep doing what I've been doing as though I'm on this singular linear path that hopefully trends upward as I become more senior. Watch and learn that you can do pretty much whatever you want to do with your career. It takes discipline, focus, and some courage. Fear not, you have a guide. Me. Let's start with an example of someone seeking to pivot to a new sector or industry. Andrew's parents were immigrants who came to the U.S. to provide their children a better life, starting with an education. They drilled into the children that education was the key to success, and Andrew and his 2 siblings took it seriously. The parents took on debt, while the children were awarded some scholarships, worked, and saved to pay for school. And all 3 finished college, graduate school, and 2 have PhDs, including Andrew. He was an attractive candidate on paper and had offers from top consulting firms, landing at the number 2 firm in the country. He did well, and after about 9 years, was asked to follow one of his managers to a startup where he hoped to leverage some of the research he'd done in school, convinced that he could add value to the startup and have positive impact, allowing more people, like some of his relatives, greater access to healthcare. Fast forward about 5 years. While the startup was taking off, Andrew felt he had stalled, and the manager he followed wasn't leveraging him to the extent he had hoped. He decided to start looking for another job. With his educational pedigree and brand name employers, he would be an attractive candidate. Here's the thing though, In his heart, Andrew wanted to move out of the healthcare industry into technology, but wasn't convinced he could be taken seriously. The fact is, changing sectors or industries is relatively easy compared to changing functions, like going from finance to marketing, but I get to that later. For both, you are well served to leverage the network you have, hopefully built, versus just applying to online postings. Not only are postings increasingly bogus, as in outdated or false to give the impression that companies are hiring versus laying people off, the algorithms are often written to give preference to people who've been there and done that. Drives me nuts because experience doesn't always equal competence. I know people with loads of experience who aren't good in any areas, functionally or as leaders, different competencies. And yes, you know me and those beautiful competencies. Remember those deconstructed elements of how you've done something, or the other definition, skills plus knowledge plus ability. Leading with competencies, both on your resume and in your narrative, help the screener or interviewer see how what you've done makes sense for what they need, in spite of the fact that you've never worked in the sector before. Your functional expertise shines through here. When I went to Google, I had never worked in tech, and they called me. They called me because they wanted a subject matter expert, and I had been recommended, unbeknownst to me, by someone I had worked with. Herein lies the value of having a robust network of people who are familiar with your work and competence. Back to Andrew. He worked with a coach who helped him see that he wasn't giving himself enough credit for his accomplishments, and with focus and determination could transition into the tech space. It took nearly 7 months, during which time Andrew kept his previous job. He was offered not one but 2 roles in tech that leveraged his capabilities. He declined the first offer as he wasn't totally comfortable with what he had learned about the leadership team from his contacts who worked there. The second offer felt right, and the leadership team he was going to be working with demonstrated a sincere appreciation for Andrew's unique competencies, his passion, and commitment. This all happened about 3 years ago. Andrew has since been promoted to oversee a team in a different function. He continues to thrive in the tech sector and his new functional role. See there? Don't let limiting beliefs dash your dreams. Free your mind and the rest will follow. So, now let's talk about the new sector. Learn about it. Acquire foundational knowledge about this new industry or sector. This might include understanding industry trends, key players, and challenges. Get relevant certifications. Consider pursuing a certification or training relevant to the new sector or function to demonstrate commitment and gain credibility. Doesn't have to mean a whole degree. In terms of a new function, identify key competencies. Focus on the competencies that are applicable across different functions. For example, project management roles probably call for competence in critical thinking, organizational skills, communication, problem solving, and decision making. Highlight how you demonstrated those same competencies in a completely different function or functions like maybe sales and marketing. Highlight your achievements. You're doing this by demonstrating how your skills and knowledge have led to tangible results in previous roles. Use very specific examples to show how these competencies can be valuable in this new context that you're pursuing. You can even address perceived gaps in direct experience or competencies with examples of collaborating on projects with other specialist teams that did have those competencies. Your exposure or adjacency to them is worth something. Lastly, adapt your resume, customize it, and a cover letter to emphasize these transferable competencies and how they align with the new function or role. Here's what I want you to take away. Whether you're seeking to change industry sectors or functions, build relationships by connecting with professionals in the new sector or function to gain insights and advice. Networking can also provide opportunities for referrals or introductions. Seek informational interviews. Conduct informational interviews with people who have made similar transitions or are established in the new field, as well as executive recruiters. In my experience as an executive recruiter, it was harder to sell my clients, meaning the employers, on people changing functions versus people new to the industry sector. But it can be done if you have a compelling narrative, strong references, conviction, and confidence. Reframe your experience. Present your previous experiences in a way that highlights its relevance to the new role. Focus on how your past achievements and competencies can solve problems or add value in this new context. And show adaptability. Emphasize your ability to learn and adapt quickly. Provide examples of how you have successfully adapted to a new challenge or learned new skills in the past. And again, leverage the value of storytelling. Give examples. Use your narrative to bring the listener into your story. I get it. Taking that first step can feel daunting. I've been there too. But here's the thing. You've got strengths you might not even realize yet. I put together a free career mapping framework to help you uncover those hidden talents and chart your own path forward. It's not about changing everything overnight. It's about starting to see your potential clearly. Ready to explore? The framework's waiting for you. Just check the link in the description. Your future self will thank you for taking this small but powerful step today.